Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've all had a really good show. So today I'm going to take you through our Home and Festive presentation for Autumn Winter 25-26. I'll start off with a bit about who BDA London are. So we're a fashion and retail specialist based in the East End of London, and we focus primarily on trend forecasting, but also product, brand, and strategy work. Um, our whole point and reason for being is to offer that external viewpoint to brands and retailers because everybody gets very bogged down in their day to day. So we give that external viewpoint. Our objective is to sort of personalize trend insights and really distill the noise and sort of try and basically just give everybody a little bit more of a focus. Trendhub is our ready to buy division. So it's been going for around about 2 years. It's basically curated by the BDA team. So again, all of the knowledge we've built over the years from the bespoke side of the business is kind of funneled into the Trendhub ready to buy division. We don't only do homeware, we do women's, men's, kids wear, active. So all of the key areas are covered. But today I'm going to be showing you some of the excerpts from the autumn winter home and festive trend presentation. So starting off with the big ideas for the season, these are kind of the overriding things that we're seeing coming through as really important for autumn winter 25-26. And we've kind of got three key subjects that we're focusing in on, and you'll see these filter into the trend stories that we go through a bit later on. So the first one is called discomfort. This is all about this change up in home environments being a lot more expressive. We're seeing that there's a real focus in, rather than it being sort of sanctuary, very minimal, very simple, it's now about that kind of clash of looks and styles. A real celebration of individualism and a real focus on bringing things together to sort of really create something unique. Second up, we've called In Control. This is all about a real focus on modularity. So we're seeing a real drive towards products that have multi-functions, multi-purposes, but also have the ability to fit into any space or environment. So again, lots of focus here. This also speaks to sort of that smart technology that's coming through to control some of the things in our lives that can sometimes be a bit tricky, but also help with money saving and being a little bit more sustainable and meaningful. And last up, we've called Untreated. And again, this you'll see feeds into a lot of the trend stories I'm going to go through. But this really focuses on the beauty of imperfection and the idea of not everything being perfect. There's a lot of focus in here about one off and celebrating materials that really focus in on the uniqueness that they create from being natural. So the season's themes for autumn winter 25-26. First up, we've got immersion. So this story really focuses on a real juxtaposition of modern heritage looks, but fused with very modern sort of takes. So again, you'll see the color palette's got a very rich warmth to it. There's a lot of browns in there, but those sort of unexpected pop colors of mustard and jade really, really bring it together to create something that feels very fresh and new. Again, within this story, some of the key things that we're like taking out is this idea of sort of mixed materials. So again, this one's very much about a focus on texture. So we've got a lot of these ribbed surfaces, these tonal reliefs coming through. Again, from a fabrication perspective, you're seeing lots of layered florals in prints and patterns. So it really creates that feeling of depth and warmth. We've also got some things in here that speak to sort of tradition. So you'll see like the rattan weaves there and the monochromatic block prints. Again, these feel very contemporary in the execution, but the techniques are very sort of traditional. And again, those sort of rustic versus traditional kind of juxtapositions in here feel really, really strong and key. But warmth and comfort really overrides this look. From a product focus perspective, we're really looking at sort of raffia and bamboo being used in small storage and key furniture pieces, but then also modern takes on traditional crafts. So again, this really does fuse that idea of tradition and modernity together. And then obviously that handwork textile that I mentioned before, we're really seeing that coming through as a key driver for the season. Our festive focus in this story comes from our trend shared. So this really, really focuses on that idea of sort of coming together, but again, that uniqueness and individualism coming through there. The softened palette sort of isn't traditional festive, but again, like works really well with that warmth coming through really strongly. It does have that idea of sort of nostalgia to it as well, so that those found items being really key into this look. But it's very much about that craft and that celebration of craft again. So again, just to summarize, you can see the mood here. It definitely has that real sort of like warmth and that importance. But the key thing here is really placing together the modernity and tradition. Um, if any of you also want, there's a QR code that you can scan. The full presentation is available. So around the side there, you'll see it. Just seeing everybody frantically taking pictures, but you can get the whole thing. Um, Happy Place is our next story, so a very different look. This one is very much focused on things that are a little bit altered, but really that idea of evoking imagination, these sort of dreamlike looks in here. But the soft palette is really key. It really focuses on themes of mindfulness and optimism. And again, that sort of take on pastel colors is really key to this look. The materials toolkit for this one really focuses in on the unexpected. So we've got tinted woods in here. We've also got lots of powder coatings applied to metals with those softened colors. But those diffused like marble patterns and diffused sort of tie-dye textures also coming through on furniture. And these really beautiful frosted glass looks. So they have that almost satin-like quality that's really important. But again, putting this against those very, very definitive weaves. So again, you've got a lot of texture coming through in this story, even though it's cleaner. The product focuses for this is basically anything that you can bring through those geometric accents because they're so important. So whether that's rugs, wall coverings, or small items for the home, we're definitely seeing that importance of those sort of geometric accents in here. And then those sculptural decor pieces also really important. So again, from furniture right the way through to home accessories being really important. Another really nice one in here is the functional accents. So again, that idea of accent pieces in pop colors or prints, but that are functional. So whether they double up as storage or they, have dual purposes, they're really key to this look. And then our festive focus for this one comes from our trend story moments. So again, a very different take to the previous one, but this one takes on that real look of sort of grand sort of minimalism. We've got really simplified tones in that darker, rich palette. But again, that mixture of sort of surfaces and that combination of mixed tonal textures being really important to this look. But again, it has that real feeling of sort of richness to it, but also that simplicity that's coming through really strongly there. So again, just to sum up that story, it's got a very dream-like quality. We've got those really softened pastel tones, and again, lots of unexpected material surfaces in here. So those powder coatings, those sort of rich shades into the sort of metal is really key into this look. Next up is Mineral, which is probably my favorite story for the season. Again, a very different feel, but this really focuses in on that imperfection that I mentioned previously. The silhouettes, the looks are very minimal, but the finishes, the fabrications are definitely not. They've got that very mineral, natural kind of take to them. So again, it gives that sort of very simplified silhouette something very new and different in its look. It also evolves beautifully that neutral color palette that's been so important in the home space for such a long time, and gives a new take to that. So again, I think this story's got lots of lovely sort of move-ons from some of the things we've seen over the previous seasons. So within the toolkit, the materials and details, you'll see again a lot of metal focus, but here we've got all of the tarnish and abrasion coming through. Those very textured brass surfaces being really important here as well. And these sort of nearly sort of white woods coming through as well. Very, very pale sort of tones in there. And again, the texture being really important. Definitely a dominating driver for the season, but these almost shearling sort of tactile plush surfaces, really key there. But also anything that mimics nature. So whether it's mineral surfaces, things that inspire by pebbles and rocks, but also these worn linen fabrications or woolen linen looks that again are really textural and bring through that warmth, even though the colors are cool, they've got that feeling of tactility. From a product focus, this one obviously really highlights textiles, and that textural sort of minimal textile is really important in here, whether that's coming through in linens or wools, or these slightly textured synthetics that we're seeing coming through as well. And then any accent piece, whether it's an ornament or home decor piece, that has those sort of mineral textures coming through there as well. But lots of metal for the season. Equally, ceramics with those sort of mineral finishes are really important as well. And then these layered neutral decor items as well, really, really beautiful, particularly in the lighting space. Our festive focus in here comes from our theme Arctic, again, really playing on that neutral, cool palette. But here you can see the simplification, the sort of almost naivety to some of the things within this story. But I think what's really lovely in here is the nods to mythology and also those mixed metallics coming through really strongly. But again, the imperfection, the sort of, slightly off kilter looks and finishes, slightly not what you expect. Again, really, really lovely different take for the sort of festive period. So again, that mood feeling like it really focuses in on those imperfections and those sort of things that you don't expect to see, but also a lovely way to evolve the sort of neutrals and naturals for the season. Then we go into Kindred. So Kindred's a really fun one. This one has got a real sort of like play on modernity, almost like a nod to sort of like things clashing together. Again, that color palette really focused on those mid-tones, but we're really seeing that warmth underpinning everything in here. So lots of very warm, rich wood tones, and very simplified sort of patterns and finishes in here as well. Our materials toolkit into this story really looks at those sort of really supple plush leathers coming through, as well as corduroys. So the importance of the texture still remains in here. There's something slightly more contrasting in this story than some of the others. So for example, you can see with those boucle textures, there's more highs and lows in the colors that are being used. So it's a bit more contrasting. But again, the softness and fluidity of the lines is really important. So these sort of almost crafted accents and abstract silhouettes, really important to this look. Again, as we go into the sort of key product areas, those tactile, very sort of plush, geometric sort of textiles, very important in the rugs and sort of soft furnishing space. But textural dining accents is also something that we're seeing coming through. So whether that's, your napkins or your napkin rings or the table mats, but bringing through that real texture is very key. And then the intricately crafted accents. What I love about this is even if you don't want to go whole hog with this story, you can have those accents and really get the essence of it and be a little bit more sort of simple with the sort of execution here. So again, just to summarize, this one really, really focusing in on something that feels quite retro and minimal, but simplified. So again, it's very bold, but playful at the same time. And I think, again, really, really lovely move ons to some of those key directions that we've been seeing for the last couple of seasons. Intimacy is our last story, and again, a real difference in sort of look and feel. So this one has a real feeling of sort of like refined elegance. It's definitely got something that sort of evokes that sort of sensuality and sort of like that symbolic sort of look and feel of the color palette. There's a real richness in this one, so lots of velvets, lots of sort of key finishes within here, but it has that sort of almost retro glamour to it. There's something a little bit 1970s cinema, come art deco to this look and feel. But again, the importance of those burgundy, pink, and red tones, we've seen them be hugely important in the fashion world for the last couple of seasons. And I think seeing them sort of evolve into the homeware space is really lovely. Again, from that materials toolkit perspective, like lots of satinized brass, and then those ultra, ultra smooth velvets, super low pile, very, very like reflective in the way they sort of hold the color. And again, lots of tonal fabric pairings in here. So mixing up of sort of shades and tones of the same color, being really important to this look. Also, some of those more glam accents with the sort of very long tassel fringing. And then those fluid lines and realistic florals really bring this one together to create something that's very sort of plush and decadent. Our product focus, obviously, those sort of central fabrics, that layering, sort of bringing through those real sort of deep dyed velvets and chenilles. And again, those artistic accents being really important into this story. Again, it's got that slight imperfection to it, which I really love as an undercurrent for the entire season. And then this idea of decadent dining spaces as well. That real focus on sort of entertainment is really at the heart of this story. And again, just to summarize there, you can see that sort of richness of color palette, how important that is for the season and how key, to mix and match those sort of warm hues together. Again, real focus on that sort of opulent glamour with this story. So again, a very different feel to some of the others. So just to summarize and go through like some of the key takeaways for the season that, we obviously at Trendhub BDA feel are really important are those tonal texture plays that I mentioned. So that idea of layering tones of one color, we've seen that in the fashion world for a really long time. And I think it's really amazing how it's executing into the homeware space, especially into the decor items. But again, I think really lovely way to update spaces without, needing to sort of overhaul everything. Traditionally inspired pieces are really important as well, but that mix of modern and historic is really key to the season. So really bringing those sort of classic styles into the limelight and giving them a new elevation. Handwork materials such as raffia and natural yarns add that kind of elevated texture to the season. So again, we've still got that underpin of sort of natural fabrications being really important. And I think what is really nice this season is pattern sort of starting to play a leading role again, even if it's quite abstract and surface decoration rather than subjective print. We are seeing it being really important and starting to play a key part. So whether it's coming through in texture or abstract kind of finishes, but again, it's nice to see it evolving away from just pop colors, is where we've been for the past few seasons. And then last but not least, this concept of sculptural finishes and touches. So that idea of sort of adding tiny touches that have quite a dramatic effect. So whether that's asymmetric candlesticks or these sort of warped basketry items or the carved cupboard door handles that we saw earlier, it's just a really lovely way to bring something new in and elevate the look for the season. Thank you very much for joining me. If anybody has got any questions or would like to ask anything, Ruby has got a microphone. I don't know where she's gone. And she will come but if not, I'll be hanging around for a little while if anybody wants to grab me after. But thank you very much. And like I say, if you want to scan the QR code, it's around the back of here. Thanks, everyone.